Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. I'm your host, Stephen Downs, and once again, as the season is underway, we're back with our regular Town Talk Sunday night shows. And it's exciting to be back 3 months after we lost 4-1 to Leyton Orient as they were going on their way to Wembley to try and get promotion to the Sky Bet Championship. Town were losing their minds with Johnny Worthington, loads of players that didn't want to be here, and it was looking quite bleak on the Town Talk show at the end of last season. 3 months on, though, positivity returns, and also Mr. Zach Wood returns for his 817th showing of the podcast. It's lovely to have Zach, and as ever, we've got our tactical genius in Mr. Kane Hall on the show. We've got new graphics. We've got a polished podcast to come. We're going to be reviewing the win over Leyton Orient as Town beat them 3-0 yesterday afternoon. The sun was shining, the Cowshed Loyal were in vocal voice, the stadium was buzzing, and Town put on a really good performance against a very, very sort of brand newish Leyton Orient team. But it was a great performance. And yeah, so we're going to get into that. We're going to look ahead to Reading also and just talk all things HTSC. So thanks very much for joining us for tonight's show. Please do get your comments in, like, share and subscribe to the channel. Lots of content going on with the new season. Leeds United, Bradford City with Gaz. We'll have our Monday show tomorrow as ever. But now it's Town Talk. Zach, Kane, great to have you boys. Hopefully Callum's going to join us as well in a little bit. But yeah, Zach, great to have you back, mate.
No, good to be back, mate. Good to be back. Little Oasis line there as well to be in team. No, just what a difference 3 months makes, mate. What a difference it makes. I mean, we finished up, didn't we, in May with no positivity, real lack of direction on and off the pitch. But 3 months, 12 weeks later, and here we are, mate. Early August, 3 points on the board. Weird how football works out with symmetry, finishing at John Smith's last year with Leyton Orient, and then obviously at the Q Stadium now, opening up against Leyton Orient. I don't think two teams could have gone in bigger directions. I think Leyton Orient have had a tough summer. Obviously, new side, really, 6 or 7 signings, and then ourselves with 8 debuts yesterday. Just high positivity, mate. Smile on my face for a change.
Ken, as ever, there is a song that says, what a difference a day makes. Well, what a difference 3 months make, mate.
Yeah, it does. You know, there's been fresh ideas, fresh faces. As Zach mentioned there, you know, and you've said as well, some players have left the club, which has probably been the right thing for all parties. Probably including a player that played yesterday who left the club and showed exactly why he shouldn't have been a Town player anymore. But there's been a lot of change. Changes what was needed from top to bottom as well, which we all aware of, that the club is doing the right things off the field. We know that, but it's about getting them right on the field now. I'm going to try not get carried away too much, but yesterday was the perfect start for me. Yes, there's still a lot to go through, still a lot to work on, which the manager's already come out and said, and I'm sure we can all see that as well. But it's the start that they needed. 3 goals, a clean sheet at home against a team that smashed them last game of last season. So I think it was everything that the fans would have wanted, whether that's what the manager wants in terms of going forward. Yes, it's a win, but there's still, like I said, there's a lot to work on, which is fantastic to know that this isn't the finished project.
We've already had some comments in. Philip McKenzie has said, actually excited for a positive show after last season's depressing, monotonous sludge 46 games of darkness. And why are we waiting? I think because we were slightly late with the stream. Are we celebrating? Yes, we are still celebrating. But we're here to talk Town. Also, Tenny930, it says, cracking win yesterday. Boys, up the Town. Nice to meet you. Yes, it was great to meet you in Merry England. Before the Burnley game, where we enjoyed a little chat. So thanks very much as ever for watching the show. Really do appreciate it. And Dirty A has also got one in here. It's like we shed old rancid skin. I saw so much yesterday to believe we are going forward. Zach, let's talk about how you felt going into the match yesterday. Obviously, we were all excited to see the lineup. It was slightly different to the Burnley game, which was the friendly the week before. Rowan starting at left back. In fact, for once, I've got a shiny graphic to show what the starting lineup is. Let me get it on here. So this was the lineup. Also, in the sort of numbers you can see there, these are the ratings that I've given the players. We can get into them a little bit later on. But yeah, what did you make to the starting lineup, Zach? Was it something that really excited you, mate?
Yeah, I mean, look, when we've seen the turnover of bodies that we've seen this summer, I think it naturally gets the excitement flowing, right? Did I know the ins and outs of every single player we signed this summer? No. Did I get carried away that we've signed a title-winning side? Probably a little bit. But yesterday, do you know what I was most delighted with? Not seeing 5 at the back. I think I'm absolutely sick to death for the last 2 seasons seeing Town try to play 5 at the back when we just don't have the we've never had the midfielders to carry that. What I saw yesterday though was a side that was stable in terms of they knew their roles. Every single one of them were well drilled. I saw a side that was willing to run for one another, and I mean there was a moment Alfie May lost the ball on the edge of their box, and the lad sprinted 65 yards. And I mean Josh Cromer still got the ball in it, decent ball to be fair, and their strikers missed the chance. But would we have seen Town of old? Striker give away the ball in the box, sprint past 3 or 4 Leyton Orient players to try and block across at the left back position, probably not. And then seeing the 2 centre halves, right? Yeah, give the ball away a couple of times, but rather than just getting the ball and hoofing it, and I'm not going to name names, right? But the individual that I'm talking about now is playing just down the road at Doncaster. Actually got man of the match yesterday, but to see the centre halves get the ball down right and actually play football is just worlds apart to what we were seeing yesterday. And we are going to make mistakes, right? Let's not beat around the bush. There's going to be times we give the ball away in stupid places, but you could see the patterns of play, like you got Goodman who's comfortable on the ball, playing balls out to the right and left back, and then you've got Alfie May dropping into that pocket, getting on the ball, and you've got Wiles and Harness either side of him running beyond him. Just clear identity. There's still loads to work on, absolutely right, but the basics of a good side, they're hard-working, well-drilled, and I believe a formation that allows us to be pretty strong at the back, but also get bodies in the box. So yeah, really exciting. And the whole day yesterday was positive from start to finish. Just really good at the minute. Again, it's one game, right? It's 90 minutes, but it felt good.
From the Burnley game was that we were really strong at the back, and although we lost the friendly 2-0. That was my biggest takeaway, how much difference we were at the back, Kane. And obviously, I know that you were at the fixture as well. I mean, one of my concerns going into the opening fixture was whether we were going to be creative enough up top. And we actually were. We created some really good chances. All right, Leyton Orient hit the post early on. We had Connolly, who I actually thought was their best player by a mile. But, overall, I thought, we were really creative. Harness, Wiles, and Miller to start with were really, making chances and sort of creating as much as they could.
Yeah, for me as well, obviously I've been very, very, very fortunate to have covered all but one pre-season game for Town, and have been every single game bar the Austrian one. But what I've seen is a very, very clear way of process in pre-season where Lee Grant has been working on his foundation. Look at the players that were brought in first, most of them defenders. Get the defence sorted, then let's work his way further forward. So I get your point in terms of a bit of concern about creativity, but I also think that the way they've worked on their shape over the last 6 weeks or so has allowed them to be a bit more free further up. So it's allowed. So we saw a few times playing out from the back, and it's gone on to the right back or the left back. And it's played into midfield, gone further forward, but there was a massive gap in the midfield and the pockets of space. That's where Wiles, Harness, May came in, and all were able to just take control of it. And when you're allowing players that kind of space to do so, you are going to create them opportunities. But I also still think that, yes, we created a good amount of chances, but we're also 1 week in. Not many of them players have actually played 90 minutes yet. And I still reckon there's probably need a month or two to gel. Don't get me wrong, they looked really good as a team. They looked in it together, but also gelling correctly and still working on that attacking phase. So to score 3 goals when you've been working on defence mainly, your formation being solid back there, that's an unbelievable positive to have.
One thing that stood out to me, Zach, was although we had 8 new debutants, Herbie Kane and Ben Wiles particularly stood out. And 2 players that, have divided town fans last season. Ben Wiles for 2 seasons now, and we spoke about him quite a lot on the show. But I thought both had really good games yesterday, particularly Ben Wiles, who, we might have finally found his sort of correct position where he can be as effective as possible.
Yeah, I mean, they look fitter, don't they? I think Herbie Kane looked fitter. Now it's just about keeping him fit. I think last season when Herbie Kane was on the field to play, we were a better side. That's my belief. I think he's calm on the ball. He's willing to look forward for a pass, but he works hard. But Ben Wiles is an interesting one, because you're right. I mean, he's a bit Marmite, isn't he? You either love him or hate him. And I still think yesterday, maybe I'm being overcritical, but I think he had a good game, probably one of his better games in the town shirt. But there's still a massive opportunity where it's on his left foot and he's got acres and time, and he's just hit it straight at the keeper. So I think for us to be a side that's looking to push the top 2, we have to take chances. We have to take chances and we have to be clinical. And I think we were yesterday, but I think maybe I'm being overcritical here. I think there's a couple of chances where Ben Wiles has got to get his name on the score sheet. He's at the post, in the first half. And then obviously that glaring opportunity in the second half. But he was getting himself in them positions, isn't he? And he's been given a little bit more freedom and license to push forward and be effective in the final third. So yeah, like I said, positive. Still think there's more to come, and I think the expectation should be there's more to come from Ben Wiles. He, £1 million footballer, and if he's in a number 10 position, he has to start contributing. But yeah, you're right. I think 2 of the players that probably could have given more last year look good.
Terrier930 says Goodman looked. Sorry, I've shown the wrong comment there. Goodman was class yesterday, as was all the lads on the pitch. All worked as a team. Dirty also says they looked like they wanted to be here and work for each other. When they got used to each other, it can get even better. And Long Tacker says Kane's a liability. I don't agree with that, but like you said, Zach, he looked a lot fitter yesterday. He looks hungry. He looked like he wanted to get on the ball, which I don't think at times he did last season, and maybe that was due to the injuries and the fitness. We'll go through whether you lads agree with what I've said here in terms of player ratings. So let's start with the goalkeeper, Kane. Goodman didn't have a lot to do, but what he did do, he did well. I thought his distribution was really good, particularly playing it out to Gooch and Rowan or / Miller when they were at full-back. Just a good, solid performance. And obviously I've given him a 7 there. Do you agree with that? What did you make to Goodman?
Yeah, solid back there. Seemed the communication was well. Happy with his play with his ball at feet. Wanted it. Found a good pass. Yeah, I'd probably agree with you on that one, Steve.
Yeah, Zach?
Yeah, I think, look, he didn't have much to do, did he, in terms of shot stopping. The crosses he needed to come and catch, he did. And as you say, his distribution was decent. So yeah, 7's pretty sensible, mate.
Tell you what, Steve, rather than going through all of it one by one, I don't think there was a bad performance at all yesterday.
No.
And I think you've been very harsh on Sean Ruan as well.
No.
I know he didn't play long, and I know he got injured.
Yeah.
But his positioning at left back was very, very good. He intercepted quite a few times before he actually had to go off. And I think we're also going to see, you've put it down as this kind of formation, which is what it kind of looks like at first. And I think what you're going to see Town is playing in between 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2, and a 4-3-3. You're also going to find that Lyndon Gooch is going to be playing up on that right wing quite a fair bit, which is going to leave Town open at times. But I think yesterday they did exactly what they needed to do. So I know earlier you said, Zach, so nice to not see that 5 at the back, you know, and it's a 5/3 at times, depending on what your wing backs are doing. I still think it's a dominant 4, but having Rowan there, or when he, you know, if he's fit, depending on what happens with him, by all accounts, it should just be a knock rather than anything serious. He's going to sit back there. Watmore will come across. Lowe will come across as well. So it might sit as a back 3, but with Gooch pushing further forward. But I think we've got the ability with Gooch, his fitness levels, to get back, which we saw yesterday. Ledson is so disciplined. He can go and do that. And by the way, he's been doing it all pre-season. He has not shied away from one tackle. Yesterday, through pre-season, he will go through you. He's a proper leader. And I think, as Zach said earlier, Alfie May sprinting back 65 yards to help his teammates out. So yeah, Town might be open at times, and I'm sure they're going to work on it. But everybody's there to cover for each other, and I think that's very, very important.
Just to reiterate, I've only put a 5 down because we didn't see him for the full game. I'm sure if we had done, he'd have been up there with 7 and 8. He obviously went off.
I'm interested around the Gooch performance yesterday because depending on who I've spoken to, right, very different opinions of him. So I watched the first 15 minutes, right, and we were doing a little bit of a tally, me and the lad next to me, and he gave the ball away 7 times in 15 minutes. In the first 15 minutes of the game, right? And then he settled in and he calmed down and he looked a lot more composed on the ball. But that first 15, 20 minutes was not ideal. But after, I think, the second half, and I don't know if there was a tweak by Lee Grant, but he did seem to sit back a little bit more and just be more composed on the ball. And I think that helped him out massively. So going back to what you said, Ken, I absolutely agree. It's a fluid back 3, back 4, right? Dominant 3 with a 4th if depending on how the game's going. But he did look, I felt he looked better as a natural right back. And I understand we've signed him to play further forward. But personally, I just thought he looked better in the second half as a natural right back.
I agree. I agree, Zach. And sorry, Steve, I want to touch on what Zach said. 100%. And I think, the manager made the tweaks at halftime, which was the right thing. Let's not forget that Gooch has come in when Town were in Austria, when they'd done a lot of already on their defensive work.
Yeah.
So he was one of the later defenders to come in. So he's still understanding that system. He's not had too much game time yet with everybody else. So I get the nerves 100%, but you're absolutely right, Zach. I'm 100% with you. So after about 15 minutes, he settled down. He looked a lot more comfortable when he was sitting back there in the second half when Town had made the tweaks.
Yeah, and look, that's not me being critical of Gooch, by the way. It's just pointing out, I think what I'm seeing here is we're talking about the numbers and the rating that Steve's given. I personally think that a Kane and a Ledson over 90 minutes would dictate an 8, whereas I don't think Gooch was probably a standout performer, in my opinion. I thought he played well and he was solid enough for 70 minutes. But I just wanted to understand Steve's sort of opinion around why we're giving Gooch an 8 and Kane and Ledson a 7, who I thought were fantastic in that pivot.
Because, I think this is what I wanted. I want a debate. That's why I've done it. But I personally thought Gooch was excellent. I agree with you. And I didn't count the mistakes, Zach.
I'm so negative, mate. I'm just negative. That's just me.
But but I do think I thought personally I watched him quite a lot. I thought it was really just a steady performance. I thought he got up and down the line. He put crosses in. He was always supporting Harness on that right-hand side. He always wanted the ball. He never shied away from not wanting it. For me, that shows confidence. The reason I just gave, for instance, Ledson, right? Let's take him as an example. I've given him a 7, which is still a good performance, great performance. But as when I've spoken to lots of people and the commentary that I listen to, they didn't really mention his name. Now, that's not a bad thing. For the type of midfielder that it is, for me, you just go about and do your job as a steady professional, like we used to watch Hoggy do all them years back. And I think Ledson's that sort of player. He's a leader. He doesn't need to show off. Kane, I could have given an 8 because I thought he played really well. But yeah, it's just because I just thought Gooch was just excellent. The one in yellow, by the way, the reason it's yellow is because I've given him man of the match. Watmore, I thought he was I could have given it anybody really, but Watmore got my man of the match. I just thought every time the ball came anywhere near him, he just dominated whoever he was going up against. I thought Joe Lowe played well as well, but yeah, for me, Watmore was immense. Yeah, so really, it's mostly 7s and 8s, which is brilliant because all last season, I don't think hardly anybody got near the 7 and 8 for me. Yeah, Zach, does that answer your question on Gooch or?
Yeah, to some extent. Yeah, look, the opinions, right? And we're talking about here like the difference of 1. Yeah, and the fact that we're talking about, I'm arguing here that perhaps Leydon and Kane should have been an 8 as well, which is a great position to be in, right? I think we'd have struggled to give an 8 out over the whole of last season. I also think Mikael Miller did really well because clearly he's been drilled to play the position that he started in, and then obviously when Ruffin's gone off injured, he's had to adapt. And look, I know he's comfortable in the left back position, but again, his days changed completely, right, by that injury. And I just felt, and again, I'm not trying to get carried away here, but I felt like the way that Lee Grant managed the game was very proactive, and then when he did need to be reactive, he had a plan already in mind. It was clear what that player was going to come on and do. I think Ruxin played well when he came on. Again, he's one of them players in it that's a bit frustrating, but I think he come on and he ran and he worked hard and he created a couple of chances. There's a couple of opportunities he could have squared a little bit quicker to Alfie May. But again, I think that match sharpness will come as we go into the season. So overall, mate, don't massively disagree with you. Just curious as to the difference.
Yeah. Before you move on, Steve. Yeah. Before you move on, just want to mention that Leydon was mentioned quite a fair bit in my commentary. And I would put him down as potential man of match for me because of the way he actually led the team.
Yeah,
he is head and shoulders leadership above everybody at the moment. Now there is that's just what it looks like. Don't get me wrong, I'm probably way off because they've got a leadership group out there. You've got Murray Wallace, who's got a lot of experience. Marcus Harness does too, who again in this leadership group with Milo, there was a lot of these leaders. Ben Wiles has worn the captain armband as well, and probably will do at some point throughout the season if Leydon is rested. But the captain won everything. Did not shy away from a tackle, was pressing, made some fantastic switches, played the simple ball. I thought he was an absolute standout, by the way. And it's sometimes. I'm gonna make a reference to the rugby game that was on Friday, because Guy Armitage for the Bradford Bulls touched the ball 6 times maybe, but every touch was absolutely brilliant. He barely mentioned his name; you wouldn't even know he was playing. But each time he did something, it was fantastic. When you go into football, sometimes when you've got a player like Leydon who's doing the dirty bits that you don't necessarily see, just because they're not mentioned in the commentary, don't mean they're not playing a massive part, but I'm just saying I generally thought he played a huge part in that win yesterday. And just another thing as well, I think we're going to see Miller and Ruskin play more of left wingers this year rather than left back.
Yeah, go on, Steve. Go on, mate.
No, I was just going to say that I thought, obviously, with Rowan going off, because what we've seen in pre-season is that the left-hand side has been quite conservative, and yet the right-hand side has been quite attacking, where obviously in this game it had to change because Rowan went off and he brought on Ruskin, which obviously meant Miller went to left-back. And I think that's probably why we saw Gooch sat back a little bit more, because of the left-hand side being so attackive. I don't think that's a bad way of playing. Obviously, like you've said, Kane, it could leave us a little bit isolated at times, but I certainly don't think it's bad from an attacking point of view, having Ruskin and Miller on the same side together. But yeah, I agree with you. I think we're going to see them as wingers rather than playing a conservative left back role. Zach.
No,
Sorry,
I was just going to add to that. I was just about Ledson. There was a tackle made. I think he was probably 10 yards outside our box. He's absolutely crunched the lad, got back on his feet and played a left-footed pass just over the top. And I think it was Ben Wiles that was running onto it, maybe, or Joe Taylor, I can't remember. But to not only win the ball and do the dirty stuff, but then to play a composed pass like that and just set us into attacking transition straight away. It's the dirty part of the game, but he does have that quality. And I think for me, he would probably be man of the match yesterday. He didn't give the ball away much. He won his battles, and he just led from the front, and that's exactly what you expect from a leader. So I was impressed with his debut. I thought it was fantastic. And
you talk about that leadership group. What did we think to sort of the leadership group that's being put together? I'm slightly surprised that Watmore's not being put into that, because obviously very experienced as well coming from Preston, but maybe it's because he's not been in the club long enough yet.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's because they want a mixture, right? They want a mixture of age groups. They want a mixture of experiences, and ultimately it's the players that have voted for it, right? So there's not really any. It doesn't matter how long you've been at the club. It's what the players that have come in for. Everyone's got a vote, and they've voted the leadership group that they've gotten. And I personally, I think it's I think it's refreshing not to just have the gaffer go like, "You're my leadership group," because they pick people that they trust, but often the ones that they trust are not always the ones that they should be listening to. So, and I know obviously Harness is obviously coming to that leadership group, which I think probably Lee Grant would have picked him anyway, given that the fact they've worked together previously and there is a clear trust there. But for me, it's the right thing to do. If you want a group that trusts one another and runs for each other and works hard for each other, let them pick their own leadership group right there. It's the same in any working environment, any group dynamics.
I think most people were a bit surprised that Ben Wiles was in it, Zach. Kane, sorry, but obviously he's got something about him, hasn't he, as Wilesy, to be in there. Otherwise, like Zach says, the players wouldn't have voted for him. Yeah,
I'll be honest with you, I'm not surprised. Just because of when you watch the videos that the club are doing, and when it's with teammates, and Ben Wiles is involved in a lot of things. Mm-hmm. He's made a lot of friends at the club. He's quite popular. People like him. He's a likable guy, and he is a good player. And I think what Ben might have struggled with over the last couple of years is a bit of confidence, a bit of arm around his shoulder. But the players see him as someone who they can kind of go to if they need to. And I think it's very, very important to have that kind of player in a leadership group. And I think he'll keep showing that throughout the year. Look, we're one game in. He's had a good performance yesterday. I think he's had a very, very good pre-season. And I think you're going to see why he's in that leadership group.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about getting rid of a hoodoo that we've had over us for 5 years. It's 1,984 days since Town last scored a home penalty. That was before the pandemic, by the way, 5.5 years ago. Was anybody a little bit nervous when Alfie May stepped up? I certainly wasn't. But Zach, it was so nice to get rid of that sort of curse on us in a sense.
Yeah, it was weird, wasn't it? Because the ref took an age to give it, and then Alfie May took an age to hit it. It was about 10 seconds from the ref saying he could take it to him actually striking it, but a composed penalty, mate, and he eats them up for breakfast, doesn't he? It's nice to have a clear penalty taker. I think when Joe Taylor's on the pitch, it's still Alfie May if they're both on together, and then if Alfie May goes off for Joe Taylor, which we'll probably see a lot this season, I'd say it's probably going to fall to Joe Taylor. But yeah, nice to get that off his back, first game of the season, and hopefully, because we're playing in the final third a little bit more this season, we might actually see some more penalties given and executed.
You never know. How excited did you get, Game, when you were commentating on the fact that we'd scored a penalty?
I couldn't believe it. The amount of penalties that it got to the point where over the last couple of seasons I've been commentating and Town got a penalty, I've gone, oh, well, he's going to save it anyway, so there's no point even talking about it. And it was just a little bit different. I think the fact that he took his time before hitting it, that actually filled me with more confidence because he's not rushing, whereas beforehand we've seen players rushing. I just want to talk about the other 2 goals. I know you're going to come on to it at some point anyway, but Joe Lowe's goal, he had the same opportunity the week before against Burnley and just got his header wrong. And then the following week, he's got it absolutely perfect. Okay, come off the shoulder a little bit as well. But it's still going in the back of the net. But this is the thing, he was just working on the things. And that's what I really enjoyed about his goal, because I'd seen it the week before and it didn't work out for him. And he's done it the week after and it's gone in beautifully. The Ruskin one, very, very tight angle. We all know Joe Taylor would taking a shot, but it doesn't matter. And I think there was it looked like quite a funny embrace between Ledson and Taylor after the goal had gone in, kind of having a bit of a laugh about it. And everyone's still buzzing because Ruskin scored, who I thought when he came on, he looked disappointed that he wasn't starting. Mm-hmm. And I get that. And I think sometimes he probably wanted to try too hard to prove the point why he should start. But then also worked really hard to win the ball back. So it was a very mixed performance from him, but it's still a great one. Got his goal and he was happy. But yeah, really pleased for Joe Lowe. That to see him do it the week before and miss, and then do it the week after and score when it mattered in a league game was massive.
But great set piece by Herbie Kane as well. That it's nice to see us score a free kick for once, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've always been a threat from set pieces, that angle, right? I think Matty Pearson, Hefele last year. Hefele, what am I on about? Helic? Don't know where that came from. But anyway, Helic and Pearson last year were always a threat, and Tom Lees as well. So I think we have been a threat inside the 6-yard box from set pieces for a while. I just think that my worry was that when we lost, not worry, I mean, I was delighted that some of the names that I've just mentioned now have gone, but I think I was worried that you're losing 10, 15 goals a season by Pearson and Helic and Lees moving on. But, good start, 1-1 for Joe Lowe. I think he'll get many more. I mean, he's an absolute machine in there in terms of his height and his power and his strength. But the quality of the ball as well, yeah. You can only win it if it's put on a plate, and it was. I don't think the header was particularly clean. It could have gone anywhere, but end of the day, it's gone it back at net. And then following on from what Kane just said about Ruskin coming on and maybe trying to prove a point, I also really enjoyed the fact that the subs came on. And, you've got Joe Taylor, who's probably saying, why are they figuring out that I'm starting, right? I've been signed to be the main man at this football club. He came on, the first ball played over it, he chased it into the corner. And, he looks thinner as well, by the way, Joe Taylor. He looked sharper yesterday when he came on. And then we've still got players that didn't even make the squad, whether they were fit or not, I'm not sure. But the likes of McGuane, Feeney, Castledine didn't even make the squad yesterday. So there's huge competition for places. And the fact that the players seem to be embracing that competition can only be good for us as a club. It's nice to see that. And the fact that people are having a fight for the shirts, it shouldn't be a given that you're starting every single week.
Well,
yes, I think
go on. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say Feeney was suspended for yesterday.
Of course he was, first game. Yeah, of course he was. I forgot about that, yeah.
And just, I want to mention as well, no one else, there's only one injury at the moment, which is Anthony Evans. And he ruined now as well, yeah. But beforehand, Evans, who had a fantastic pre-season, had a really good pre-season. So the competition, as Zach mentioned, it's great to see.
It's class. It is.
Yeah, I think obviously with Anthony, it's just a shame, really. He seems to, come on and get going, and then, like last year, he had this weird toe injury or whatever, and like obviously in the summer, like you said, Kane, I watched most of the pre-season friendlies, did really well, and is now injured. But with this sort of chat, Zach, you've sidestepped me quite nicely into just reviewing the transfer window. Obviously, it's like we practiced before we come on. 12 new signings, 12 went out the door, as well as obviously some of the kids. But 12 new signings, I think it's been a stellar window, hasn't it? I mean, we could have said the same. We probably did say very similar last summer, but I think this summer it's been a step up in a few ways. People like we said, Ledson, Watmore coming in, Harness coming in from the league above. Really good professionals. Added to the fact that quality additions that we saw a lot last year in the likes of Sean Rowan and Joe Lowe. Kane, how do you reflect on the transfer window so far? Obviously we've brought Castledine in as well. It kind of was mentioned that probably is going to be it unless people go out. I mean, do you think there's any more to come in? Do you think there's any to go out before the end? Obviously we've got pretty much just under a month to go until it closes.
I think you're always looking. I don't think you can ever cancel out not signing players when the transfer window's open. As you mentioned, you don't know who's going to go, who's going to come in. I think you've got to give players time as well. At the moment, I've seen the majority of the players. I've not seen McGuan and I've not seen Castledine, so I'm not really going to make too much judgment on them yet. Everything else I like. I am probably the first person in the Sean Rowan fan club at Huddersfield Town because I think he will be the best signing that Town have made in terms of where that kid can go. I generally think he'll go and play in the Premier League at some point. He just technically, with that left foot, it's fantastic. It really is good. But elsewhere, we had to get recruits at the back. And I think what was really smart was it was mainly the defenders that have come in first. Business has been done early. Defenders have come in first. Work on the foundations, and then let's work up the field. And I think it's great getting players in, but when you're doing it in a smart way, like what Town have done, shows again what kind of changes have been made. Alfie May coming in, great signing, spent money on him, but he's coming a little bit later. But this is now the time where the attack work is going to happen. So just overall, clever business to get the defenders in first.
Who needs a sporting director, Zach? Yeah,
I mean, it proves that work can be done right without having to have too many leaders on the scouting and signing side of things. I think it'd help if I could get Sean Rowan's name right. That'd be a start. But I think you're right. I think he will be a quality signing. The fact that we're signed players that have good injury records was the first thing that I looked at. Whenever we sign a player now, the first thing I look at is how many months were they out last season, or how many months have they been out over the last 2 years? Because that's killed us, hasn't it? In the past, we've signed players that have all the ability in the world and they're just never on the pitch. So we've signed players that want to play minutes. I think we've got a balance in terms of spending money where it needed to be spent, but also getting some really canny free signings through the door. Players that will have resale value, because ultimately we're going to be a selling club for a long time, right? So we need to make sure we're signing players not only for today but for selling value. But then we've gone and got the likes of Alfie May. Who, look, £1 million on Alfie May. I think it's worth it every day of the week. He can play number 10 and score goals from there. He can play low number 9 and score goals. And the fact that we've put as a club, we didn't allow what happened last summer to cloud the option of signing Alfie May. It would have been really easy for senior leadership within Huddersfield Town to say, he mugged us off last year. We're not going there again. But they didn't. They put the pride to one side, and they went and got it over the line. I am a little bit worried still that we are a little bit light in the sort of two winger positions, the three at the front, in my opinion. I think trying to play Ruskin there or Miller and maybe Gooch is trying to put square pegs in round holes a little bit, in my opinion. Just my opinion. People might differ. So I still think we're an out-and-out winger short, in my opinion. But again, there's still plenty of time for business to be done. And in terms of outgoings, I expect there will be outgoings. We're absolutely stacked up top in terms of players that we've paid decent money for still at the club. Reece Healy, who looks to be crocked again. Bojan, who I actually thought had a relatively decent pre-season. I don't think he did himself any damages by his efforts in pre-season. I thought he played well. He played in that right of a front three, which surprised me, but looked okay. And then also he's another option to come on when we need a little bit more of a target man. He looked a bit stronger, a bit fitter. So I'd be surprised if he's not knocking on the door of Lee Grant a little bit, saying, look, where do I fit into this system? If not, I want to move on. I think Dion Charles is now probably third choice in that number 9 role. However, yesterday when we changed formation, he played alongside Taylor. He did all right. And I thought he worked his socks off. He still lacks any sort of clinicality of his finishing. But again, he's going to put 110% in, and I think Lee Grant likes that in a player. But there has to be outgoing, Steve. Like, there's professionals on decent wages at Huddersfield Town that just need to be moved on. Whether it's termination of contract by mutual consent, whether the players in question would want to do that, I'm not sure. Like, to Reece Healy, he's probably going to struggle to get a contract in the UK of similar nature to the one that we gave him when he joined from Watford. But yeah, overall, mate, summary, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I'd love a little bit more business to fill that winger spot, because we're probably only 1 or 2 injuries away from really struggling to play that formation, in my opinion. But yeah, overall, really good, mate.
Okay, what do you agree with that? Do you think that we need some wing positions? I mean, I do take the point what Zach says, and he has made a very credible point there. If, Ruskin, Miller, Gooch, they sort of get injured or are suspended, you have got not a depth of wingers. One lad that obviously he's not a winger, but he does play in the fullback position, was Sway in pre-season, who looked really good. So, I mean, could it be the fact that we have to, we don't want to rely on the academy, but just by the nature of Town's squad, and we might see some outgoings from up top, would that make us have the ability to bring in maybe 2 wingers, or what's your thoughts?
Well, that's what your academy's for, by the way. That's why your academy's there. Jace Way's come in pre-season, showed what he's about, and yesterday him and Bojan Radulovic both was warming up with the team, so they are very close to that squad. When everybody else went in, they were out doing their running that they needed to do. So that also tells me that they're in and around, and I think Bojan would do that role that Marcus Harness is doing really well. He's got very good link-up play. So whether he's knocking at the door saying, can I play, like Zach mentioned, or knocking at the door saying, I want to go, who knows? Personally, I'd like him to stay, because I think he's actually a very good player, and I think he'd do very well this year in this formation that Lee Grant's playing. But again, players come and go everywhere. While the transfer window's open, you can't predict what's going to happen. There was rumours that Anthony Evans were going all over Twitter and whatever, and he's had a fantastic pre-season. And I think after pre-season, if you're part of the club, you go, Evans ain't going anywhere. If you're looking down, you're seeing what he's doing, you go, he ain't leaving, because he adds to us massively. But again, like I said, Steve, you don't know what's going to happen.
But that does create, because of the nature of the squad and how big it is, particularly in those forward areas, that is going to create maybe a headache for Grant, innit? In the fact that how does he get all these players to get minutes? I know there are games to be played in the Crap Cup trophy and whatever, but lads aren't going to want to just be happy playing in that, are they? I mean, again, you can go to the other end of the field and look at somebody like Chapman. Played 26 games last year, and now he's third choice goalkeeper, being bombed out at squad, and probably won't play.
I mean, but that, so starting with the first point about a headache. Well, I mean, it's a good headache to have, right? I think the last 2 seasons it's been a headache trying to put an 11 out on the field of any sort of quality. So now the fact that Lee Grant's got a headache because he's got too many players, ultimately, mate, that's why he's getting paid to be the manager of Huddersfield Town. He has to manage that, and he has to manage personalities in the team. A point about the wingers was, I think as a club, right, we've tried to play one formation for the last 3 seasons, right, a clear formation that we've stuck to no matter what, through thick and thin. But for me, I'd like to have a little bit more flexibility in that, and I still think my point being was we miss an out-and-out winger, in my opinion. Just one that gets to the byline and whips the ball, and that's all. I absolutely appreciate Kane. Bojan can play in that harness role. We've got Ruskin, we've got Gooch, we've got Miller. They can all play in that position, but I think none of them are really out and out wingers. If we did want to go to a more traditional 4-4-2, we saw Ben Wiles go out to the wing on Saturday when Charles and Taylor came on, which again, it's not probably where he wants to be, but. He's just going to have to manage it, is Lee Grant. And if players don't want to fight for the shirt, then they don't need to be Huddersfield Town. And, you've got to get, when you get your minutes, you've got to take your chance.
let's bring in some comments. Craig says days off going 1-0 down and not having any hope of a comeback looks to be gone with this team this season. Skies are the limit. And Dirty says the only contract that Healy will get is with Booper. I mean, it's a bit harsh, but there we are. John says, isn't Chapman injured? Not that I know of, John.
He picked up a bit of a knock towards back end of pre-season, so they're just being careful with him.
All right, fair enough. Kane's inside club knowledge there coming in handy. Right, let's talk about, obviously, like Zach says, it was a very positive day on the pitch, but it was a very positive day off the field as well. You know, we had lots of people at the ground, you know, from sponsors. Obviously, Kevin Nagel was there. Johnny Ogg was there as well, obviously in the director's box. The whole atmosphere around the ground, it was lovely to see in the bottom tier of the Altogether Town stand, lots of families there with, you know, kids and, you know, that really were enjoying being at the Aku Stadium. One of the things that I did want to talk about and look on is the Cowshed Loyal. They've worked very hard in pre-season to create these sort of motifs, obviously in the singing section. And this time they came up with a very classy design here, which looks back at the 1925-26 season, which is obviously 100 years ago when Town won the first division, 3 times in a row. Obviously, Herbert Chapman won the first 2, but then Cecil Potter took over the team when Herbert Chapman left to go to Arsenal and won the 3rd title, which a lot of people miss. The Cowshed Loyal have come out with some figures saying that basically the whole motif for yesterday cost them over £2,000 and over 311 man hours to create. They used parts of the stadium to create the design before unveiling it at yesterday's home match. Just want to get your thoughts on sort of the whole day yesterday, chaps. You know, off the pitch, Ken, you see in and around the stadium as well, where, you know, sites that other fans don't get to see. I just thought it was just brilliant, Zach, what the Cowshed Loyal did, but what the fan base did yesterday. I thought the whole atmosphere was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little surprised that we managed to get over 17,000 down there. I think it's good numbers considering the discussions we had at the end of last season around season ticket prices. I took my niece yesterday, made the benefit of the no cost under 14 season ticket with any paying adult. So again, you know, it's a next generation of Town fans having the opportunity to go down at the ground. The Cowshed Loyal display was decent. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's what they enjoy doing. It looks decent, and that's how they want to spend their time. Fair enough, it looks good. I hope that the club continue to maybe help fund that as well, because the brass has got to come from somewhere, and it does create a positive atmosphere. I also had the benefit this week of being down at the ground on Wednesday, and was shown the new 1908 hospitality suite, which it looks absolutely fantastic, by the way. It genuinely does feel like a club going in the right direction off the pitch. As you say, you know, Kev was over, continues to put his money where his mouth is, which I know was questioned by a lot of people last season. Do I think season ticket prices are still too much? Yes, I do.
But like you say, you have to give credit where credit's due, and you know, things like the Cowshed Loyal cane and the displays that they were doing yesterday, which is all being crowdfunded by the fans themselves. I mean, just shows, you know, how much the club means to people, you know, and why history should be remembered in this, what is a very special year for the club.
Yeah, of course, history should be remembered, but the club remembers it as well. But I think I love them kind of displays. You know, to see what the Cowshed Loyal are doing, it's great. I love watching it. I love seeing it. Videos that they do, the noise that they make. You know, I thought what was different yesterday, the noise started before the players had come out. Mm-hmm. And that was a real positive. And then, okay, Leyton Orient had a bit of a spell and everyone went a little bit quiet. But for the majority, I could hear Town fans, and that's what you want that section to bring. And I thought they brought it for the majority of the game. In terms of what it was like around the building, I got there quite early. Yesterday, I think I was there for maybe 1 o'clock, so I can get set up. We're in a new position, so I had to make sure I got there in time because quite a few steps. But there's a lot of people involved in terms of staff. You know where you're going, you know what you're doing. You have a look. I had a little look around the directors' new seats, which look fantastic. I've not been in the 1908 bar area yet, but the toilets have been redone and they look great because the last ones have probably been in there since it was first built. So it's all, as Zach mentioned, positive off the field as well, and that's where the club wants to go. I was walking around where I go to. So as you walk up to the media area, you walk past the director's box, and then you walk up to the 1908 bar, and then you're up again, and then you're up again. But it was like going to a cinema. It was, or like going to the theatre. It was a completely different atmosphere just within the building itself once you got to that part.
All that branding upstairs looks fantastic, doesn't it? And the lights, and it just honestly, compared to what it looked like 12 months ago, actually 9 weeks ago, right? It's completely different. And it just feels like it feels good. Like if you spent your brats on hospitality, that's how it should feel.
Yeah, and also the club shop, the club shop reopened, and that looks fantastic as well, to be fair. Really sort of welcoming atmosphere for fans to walk into, which makes you then want to buy the products that the club want to sell.
Yeah, and on that point, so I think the club were really hoping that we get the rope walk right for the new club shop. But the fact that believed that they wouldn't be held to ransom, so they decided to just continue what they have, extend it a little bit deeper. And what they've managed to do I think they had 6 weeks to transform that since that decision was made. What they've managed to do compared to where we were again 6 weeks ago, chalk and cheese. And all these little things, yes, they're not going to get 3 points on the pitch. And I've probably been on previous podcasts saying I don't really give a crap what happens off the pitch. But having now seen what's happened off the pitch, I'm eating my own words a little bit, right? I am, and I'll admit that. But all that will only matter if the results continue on the pitch. Yeah. They will. And the two have to work hand in hand, right? But for results to get better, we have to generate revenue streams. To generate revenue streams, we have to play better on the pitch. So the two work hand in hand. And right now, as we sit on the 3rd of August, 1 game in, 3 points on the board, things are good.
Steve, quickly.
Yeah.
I think if Town go and win against Reading as well this weekend, we'll see another couple of thousand at the stadium the next game.
Yeah. Definitely. If you do want to help the Cowshed Loyal sort of, create their motifs and what they're doing, you can visit their Twitter page and their crowdfunding page. They're looking to do more displays across the season to celebrate the 100 years. And it's something that they're really proud of doing. So please do go visit the page. Just finally, chaps, before we wrap up, let's look ahead to Reading, a club where... Well, they nearly died. Let's be honest. They nearly died last year. And it was really sad to see. Obviously, we played them in the playoff final. Our, trajectory went upwards. Their trajectory went downwards. And the club nearly folded, to be honest. They were very close to it. The fans basically saved the club. The new owner came in, who I think used to own Wickham. Obviously, a respectable chap. It's going to be he's playing against a different Reading, isn't it, this season, Zach, where, again, there's massive optimism around that club. Nolan has driven that on the pitch, did absolutely unbelievably at the end of last season with what we're going on, and, deserves credit himself. It's going to be a different type of Reading that we're going to face.
Yeah, absolutely. They just missed out on the playoffs narrowly last season despite their off-the-pitch challenge that they had. Great to see that they've been saved. A football club that unfortunately is in a catchment area in sort of just outside of West London that's got a few of the clubs that young lads go support instead. Tough start yesterday. Yesterday away at Lincoln. It's hard to really understand where Lincoln are because they've lost so many players as well. Reading obviously in a little bit of a transition, given the fact they've got new owners, a little bit of excitement off the pitch for them. But overall, mate, it's been a place we've notoriously struggled away at Reading, despite a Danny Ward hat-trick, I think, in a 4-3 win a while back. But again, if we turn up, mate, and take our chances, show what we did yesterday, hopefully we'll get the 3 points.
Kane, do you think it'll be the same team, or well, apart from Sean Rowan, who I think by all accounts is going to be out 3-4 weeks, but yeah, do you think it'll be mainly the same team, or do you think Grant's got maybe a few choices to make?
I think as a manager, you should always be looking to adapt and get the best of what you can. Harness took a bit of a knock as well, so is he going to be fit? The manager came out and said after the game that I hope it's just bangs and that both players are going to be okay, which is just what you hope anyway. I don't know. I think you've always got to look to adapt personally, and I think we saw that in terms of formation as well at the weekend. I think we changed formation a couple of times throughout the game. So just make sure that you're picking the right squad to go and do the job. And I mean, I think if they do a bit more like what they did yesterday, I think they'll go and do that job again. An earlier kick-off away from home. They'll probably be down there on Friday, stay in a hotel, but they'll be up for it. They'll be up for it. They'll look up for it. And I think that's the key part is these Town players look like they want it.
Yeah. Score prediction?
I'm going to go Town 2-0.
The scorers? You were good at it last season.
Ben Wiles and Alfie May.
Zach, score prediction?
I'm going to go 1-0 Town. I'm going to go a Watmore header.
2-1 Town. I'm going with a Joe Lowe, another header, and I'll go Ben Wiles goal for the second. Just finally then, before we wrap up, let's get some comments in. Jed Robinson, morning boys from Bondi. Cheers, Jed, for joining us. Hopefully you'll enjoy watching the show back. We've also had one from Adam who says Rowan played every minute last season but got injured after 15 minutes for us. Yeah, hopefully he'll be back though. He'll be back soon. Well, thanks very much, everybody, for joining us for this Town Talk special. Really do appreciate it. Thanks to Zach for coming on, and thanks as ever for Kane coming on as well. Really enjoyed it, lads. Well, Town sit top of Sky Bet League One. Town are top of the league. It's been many a year since we could say that. But let's hope for a Royal Rumble next week at Reading, where Town can get another 3 points and enjoy what should be a cracking weekend. But for now, thanks very much for joining, everybody, and we'll see you very, very soon for another show on the West Yorkshire Football Show. Bye-bye.